Hey everyone, today we're diving into Business Central to talk about unlocking your data. We're going to walk through how to build a custom API from the ground up, creating a really secure bridge between your business data and pretty much any other application you can think of. So think about it, all of your most important information, your customers, your sales, your inventory, it all lives right inside Business Central. But what happens when you need to get that data out? Maybe you want to show your inventory on a public website or let your sales team update contacts from a mobile app. How do you actually make that connection securely and, without a massive headache?
Well, the answer is you build a custom API. An API acts like a secure, controlled gateway to your data. And look, I know API might sound a little complicated, but the way Business Central handles it is surprisingly straightforward. Let's break down the two simple pieces that make the whole thing work. At its heart, every single custom API in Business Central is made from just two things. Yep, just two building blocks. Once you get these, the entire process is going to click into place.
First up is the source table. And this is exactly what it sounds like. It's just your data. It's the raw information you want to share. Think of it like a spreadsheet or a ledger. In the example from the documentation, it's just a simple list of car brands. This is our foundation. It's the stuff we want to talk about.
And second, you have the API page. Now this is the really cool part. The best way to think about this is like a public-facing service window for your data table. The page doesn't actually hold any data itself, it just sets the rules for who can access it and how. It basically says, okay world, here are the fields you're allowed to see and here's what you're allowed to do with them. So, if the API page is our service window, how do we actually build it? Well, the whole process really just comes down to setting a few key properties. These properties are what tell Business Central exactly how you want to present your data to the outside world.
It breaks down into four main steps. First, you just create a new page object in your AL code. Then, and this is the critical part, you set its page type to API. That one little change instantly tells Business Central to treat this as a web service. After that, you just define its unique URL, and finally, you pick which specific fields from your source table you want to show through that window.
Now, that unique address or URL is super important. How does it get built? It's constructed from these properties right here. You give it a version, a publisher, a group, and together they create this clean, organized URL that other applications are going to use to find and talk to your specific set of data. It's like giving your data a proper street address.
Okay, if you're going to remember one thing from this whole explainer, let it be this. This is the single most important best practice from Microsoft. You have to tell your API which field uniquely identifies each record. And their advice is crystal clear. Always use the built-in System ID field. Why? Because that specific key, a guide, is what makes sure your API plays nicely with the entire Power Platform. Power Automate, Power Apps, all of it. Getting this one thing right is the difference between a connection that just works and hours of frustrating debugging. Trust me on this.
So we've designed the blueprint, we've built the page. What does it actually look like when another application uses it? The best way to think about it is as a simple conversation, a request and a response. First, you have the ask. An external app sends what's called a POST request to our API's URL. Now, POST is just a standard web instruction that means create something new. So this message is basically saying, hey, Business Central, can you please create a new record in the car brand table with the name Vandelay Industries?
And then comes the answer. Business Central gets the request, it creates the new record, and it gives it that all-important unique system ID. The app on the outside can then make a quick GET request, which just means retrieve data, to pull that new record back, just to confirm everything worked. And that's it. The conversation is complete. Success. Okay, that's the core of it. With what we've just covered, you can build a totally functional API right now. But let's go over a few pro tips from the documentation that will take your APIs from just, working to being professional, solid, and really high-performing.
All right, a quick rundown of some key best practices. We already know to use System ID for our keys. That's rule number one. Next, it's better to use enums instead of the old option fields. Why? Because they give a really clean, structured list of choices that other systems can easily understand. Also, make sure to define your table relations correctly. This is what lets an app seamlessly jump from, say, a customer record to all of their related sales orders. And finally, use caption properties so your API can be easily translated.
Now for the big one, speed. If you ever work with older code, you might stumble across a property called OData EDM type. It was used to create nested objects in the API response. The key thing to know now is that this property is deprecated.
which is code for don't use this anymore. It's a major performance bottleneck. And this right here shows you exactly why. The old way created what's called a complex type. That meant Business Central had to do a whole bunch of calculations in the background every single time the API was called. It was just slow. The new, modern way is so much simpler. You just expose those fields as direct first-level properties. There are no extra calculations, which makes the API response way, way faster.
So let's just boil this all down. If you walk away with anything, make it these three things. Number one, an API is just two parts: your data, which lives in a table entry, and your secure access rules, which live in an API page. It's that simple. Number two, always, and I mean always, use System ID as your key. It is the golden rule for compatibility. And three, for maximum speed, keep it simple. Get rid of those old complex types and just expose your fields directly. And there you have it. You now have the blueprint for connecting Business Central to pretty much any modern system you can imagine. So the only real question left is, what are you going to build first?